What's up, you guys? Welcome back. So I asked you a couple of weeks ago on Facebook and Instagram what you wanted to see in my next video, and everyone wanted to hear about my first year out of prison, which is crazy because it was like the struggle. It was so rough. But yeah, I'm gonna share that with you. So before we get started, do all that cool YouTube stuff that everyone does. Hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you guys know when I upload. And please hit the like button just so that I know that you like these videos, and I will continue to make them for as long as you guys want to see them because I have stories for days. So, all right, let's get started. My first day out of prison was probably like the most scary because I had nowhere to go. I had no transportation, I had no friends, I had no family, I had no clothes, I had no ID. I literally only had prison sweatpants that said 7-Eleven 548, a shirt with my number on it too, and like prison shower shoes and a Bible and some mail that people sent me, you know, like I literally had nothing. So during the course of my prison stay, I met a friend who came to pick me up. And when you meet people in jail, like you don't know if you can trust them, you know? So when I met her and I'm like, hey, I need a ride from prison when I get out, because she got out before me, she was like, yeah, I'll pick you up, girl. But in the back of my mind, like, she was a first timer and I had just been through this several times, and I was so afraid that she was just gonna bail, you know? I didn't hear from her that much. She did write me to tell me like, girl, I'll be there, don't worry, don't stress. But when you're in prison, you just don't trust anyone. I mean, especially not people you meet there, but she came to pick me up that day and I am so grateful. We still talk, we're still friends, she's awesome. But she came to pick me up and the first thing she said to me was, girl, you look homeless. And the first thing I said was, bitch, I am. Like, I look homeless because I am homeless. So she was cool enough to give me a couple of outfits, some jeans, which when you've been in sweatpants and like prison clothes, a prison uniform for 2 years, and then you put like real clothes on, you just feel uncomfortable. Like I just felt so weird. All I wanted to do was just wear my prison sweatpants because that's what I had been wearing for so long, you know? Like it's hard to explain. So I had met someone else that said I could parole to her house. And since I didn't have any friends and family, because now keep in mind, I'm 1,300 miles away from my home. I'm from New York. I got locked up in Arkansas. So I just kind of had to roll with it and just find a way, you know? So I meet this girl and she's like, yeah, you can pull to my house, no problem. I show up there with my friend that just came to pick me up, and it's like a 3-hour drive. I show up there and there's so many people on parole, you guys. Like her son was in drug court, she was on parole, another girl we'd met in prison was living there, her stepdad was on parole. And if you guys know anything about paper, like you can't live with a bunch of people that are on parole unless it's like your immediate family and you've gotten prior approval for that, you know? But Arkansas is really weird and I guess they don't care. But my first reaction was like, oh my God, you need to leave. Like you cannot stay here. So in a panic, I like went through all my paperwork and went through all my mail, and I found this acceptance letter to a halfway house. And I called up this chick and I'm like, hey, I want to come to the halfway house. I got out of prison 5 minutes ago. Like, please come pick me up. And they were really cool about it. And they did. And I told the parole officer in this one town in Arkansas, it was Russellville, Arkansas, hey, I need to go to Little Rock, Arkansas to get into this halfway house. The situation here is not good. I didn't know that. So I was just really transparent and honest because I just did not want to go back. You know, I had my first child while I was locked up, and my only goal, my only mission in life was to get that baby back. So I didn't want to do anything like against the rules. I didn't want to violate parole at all. I wanted to stick to the rules and just do everything they were telling me to do. So I didn't have an ID. And the first thing you have to do is get a job. So that was just the biggest challenge for me. I didn't have an ID. I didn't have a birth certificate. I didn't have a social security card. So one morning in this halfway house, this one girl's like, hey, we're going to get donuts. Do you want to come? And I'm like, oh my God, I haven't had a donut in 2 years. Like I'm going. I'm down. Let's go. So I jump in this car in a borrowed Hollister hoodie, jeans, and shower shoes, still from prison, you know, because I don't have anything. And she's like, hey, I know this telemarketing job. Do you want to go up there and see if they'll hire you? I think they'll hire anyone. And I'm like, yes, I do. Like I was so excited that she had a lead on a job, you know? And I went up there and I met this guy who was really nice to me. And I'm like, look, man, this is the situation. Just got out of prison. Just got out of prison last week. I don't have anything. I will work here all day, all night, like as many hours as you will give me. I will get an ID. Please just give me a chance. And he did. He hired me that day, and I worked 12 hours that first day. And I just felt like this was the greatest thing in the world because I didn't have any money. I didn't know what I was going to do. So my first paycheck that I got from that telemarketing place, it was for $61 because I only worked on a Sunday, which is like the last day of the pay period. And I had to wait 2 weeks to get that $61 check. And then I had to wait another 2 weeks to get a full like paycheck, you know? So I was struggling. So I'll never forget, like I got this $61 check and I had to go to this grocery store to cash it, but I don't have an ID yet. I'm still working on that. And I went up to the guy at the service counter and I was like, bro, listen, I am who I say I am. I just got out of prison. I'm trying to cash my paycheck. I'm hungry. I need this money. Please cash this check. And he was just really cool. You know, he said, when you get an ID, come back in here so that I know that you are who you say you are. And he let me cash paychecks for about a month before I finally got my ID. I had to write New York for my birth certificate and go through all of that. And I remember like just being so thankful. I went into this grocery store and I found the guy and I'm like, hey man, this is my ID. I am who I say I am. You've been cashing checks for me. You know, it's completely like legal and straight. Thank you so much. And I was so grateful, you know, because I don't know what I would have done if I just had a bunch of checks I couldn't cash, you know? I was starving. I even remember not being able to get food stamps. And I'm in this halfway house and I've never been on food stamps before. But everyone else in this halfway house was on them, you know? And I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna try to get them. In Arkansas, you're not allowed to get any kind of assistance at all if you have a drug charge. And since I have a lot of drug charges, I couldn't get food stamps. So for months, I was just on the ramen noodle diet. I would eat frozen burritos and pizza and anything that I could afford, you know, cold cut sandwiches, just whatever. And now keep in mind, the halfway house charged me money to live there. So they wanted $100 a week. Now it took me weeks to get the job, get a full paycheck, and then pay them $100. So I was always behind about $400 to this halfway house, and I could never get ahead. And that was one thing that DHS, because my kid was in the system, had her in prison, DHS was like, you have to get a house, a car, you have to get everything a child needs, you have to have a little bit of money in a bank account, you have to be able to provide for this child. And I'm just sitting in this halfway house thinking like, how the hell am I supposed to do that? How am I supposed to pay parole, pay fines, eat, get a house, get a car? How am I supposed to do that? So about a few months in, I realized I can't pay this halfway house anymore. And I moved in with a friend that I met from work. And it was me and a couple other people living in this house, and we just shared rent. And I was always a little short, if I'm being honest. But I just had to save money to get a car, and that wasn't happening. It was a long, stressful process, and I could not get ahead of myself and be stressed and think about all the things I didn't have. All I could do was think about, today I have to do this. Today I have to do this, and just take it one day at a time. And I was so frustrated because I could very easily just make a phone call and get a re-up. You know, to sell drugs, to get this money, to get a car and get a house and get whatever I needed. And that was always in the back of my mind. And I was just, my pride was a big source of problems for me because I was working at this point, I was working 2 jobs. And, you know, 6 months later, I still have nothing to my name. And, you know, my caseworker, when DHS was like, you're going to lose your case, you don't have anything, blah, blah, blah. Someone was able to help me by giving me a car loan, a friend. And that car loan like really changed my life because it was like $3,500. I bought this shitty box car, but I was able to go see my daughter whenever, you know, they needed me to. So let me try, I know this is confusing. Let me back up a little bit. For 6 months, I had to hustle to get a ride to go see my daughter, and she was placed 4 hours away from me. So not only am I like hustling every single week to go see my daughter in DHS custody, but I have to pay for gas. I mean, it was just the most stressful time in my life, and I just wanted to give up so bad. All I wanted to do was sell drugs so that I could get all these things I needed, you know, all the things my daughter needed. And I think that just proved to me how strong I really am because I didn't give up. I even was offered to sell drugs again. And I got that phone call and I was like, just go with her, sell these drugs and get some money. Excuse me. But I decided not to because I couldn't lose my daughter. I couldn't risk going back to jail and losing my daughter forever. So even though it was really difficult, even though it was really hard, I had no other choice but to do it the right way. But to struggle, swallow my pride, get a little bit of help wherever I could, hustle as hard as I could, the real way, and just get her back. So things got a little bit easier when I got this job at Landstar. Landstar is a transportation company, and it just looked stable. You know, I had my own desk, and I was a freight broker, and to the court, that seemed like I had won the lottery. I also got a duplex, a really crappy duplex, and I had a roommate, the same person that gave me a car loan. This person did really step up and help me. We unfortunately had a falling out, but I will always be grateful for that help because I probably would not have my daughter if it wasn't for that help. So where am I going with this? So I remember getting my daughter back, and it took about 11 months to get my daughter back, working every day, killing myself to get her back. And I remember we went to court. I'm sorry, this always makes me cry. We went to court, and now I have a crappy car, crappy duplex. I have a bed for her, some clothes. I have everything she needs. And the judge said, this case is closed. You have full sole custody of your daughter. Congratulations. Bye. that was it. At one point, 2 months earlier, they said you're going to lose your daughter if you don't get everything. And in 2 months, I was able to just kind of salvage it, get an extension, and get her back. And it just happened really quickly. But I had to struggle for so long first for things to kind of take a turn and to make progress. So I remember walking out of that courthouse that day with Micah, and I was so happy, but I was also completely terrified. I'm a fucking criminal, you know? Like that was where my mind was. I thought, you're a fucking criminal. Like, yeah, you've been able to make it so far, but now what are you gonna do with a kid? And I really sold myself short. I didn't think I could handle being a mother. I didn't think I could handle working all the time to barely make ends meet and whatever. So I took her home, and I had like $34 in my bank account. And I remember sitting at this kitchen table with this little girl, and I thought, I can't even feed her. What am I gonna do? So we were paycheck to paycheck for a long time. But I did it. I got custody. I did not relapse that first year out of prison. I did not sell drugs. I had my daughter. I won. I was working. And for the first year, no matter how much I wanted to just cave and just give up and sell drugs, no matter how badly I just wanted to say fuck it and just leave, I didn't. And everyone doubted me. I'll never forget that. There was not one person on my side, it felt like. It felt like everyone was against me. No one thought I could do it. Everyone thought I would run. Everyone thought I would leave, because that's what I had done for so long. And just my advice to anyone going through that, going through recovery, people are going to doubt you. That's just what they do. It's your job to prove them wrong. It's your job to be like, fuck you, I'm going to do this. And just ignore all that hate. And a lot of it's not even hate. A lot of it is just, that's the expectation. And that's your own fault. That is of your own doing. So really, I had given no one a reason to trust me or to believe anything I said, because I would be like, hey, I would love to come over and hang out with you guys. And I would not see them for 3 years, you guys. Like, I'm not playing. Like, I would disappear. I would go to Christmas dinner at my family's house in New York and then not show up. Just like leave out the back door and not show up for months. So of course they doubted me. Of course they did. And as frustrated as I got by that, it's just part of it. I'm going to end this video for now. Thank you so much for watching, and just tell me in the comments below what you want to hear. I am reading your guys' comments, and I've seen a lot of people reach out to me and tell me that they've relapsed and they're struggling. And let me just tell you guys, relapsing is just part of it. It's part of recovery, and it is really hard, not only for you, but your family members watching you go through it. And the only advice I can give you is just freaking stay strong and just hold on. You know, don't beat yourself up for falling down. Just get back up and try again. You know, never give up. There is always hope to get sober. And don't think you're a piece of shit just because you relapsed. I kind of got into that negative mindset, and I would always talk down to myself and tell myself I was these horrible things because I made a mistake. And you just have to keep fighting and you have to keep trying. I love you guys. Have a good week. Bye.